Reporter Pavel Nikulin dared criticize the Kremlin's policies in Syria. Now he risks his freedom.
I opened the door. 2 armed police officers and 2 plainclothes Secret Service agents were standing there.
Dmitry Skorobutov was an editor at a state-owned TV station until his employer fired him. Now he's breaking his silence.
Everything is centrally controlled with notices and bans. State television cannot show that the state has problems.
The two used to belong to different political camps. Now both are in danger. In Moscow, only a handful of journalists like Nikulin are willing to investigate and address taboo topics. Human rights violations, harassment in the military, terrorism. The Secret Service first noticed Nikulin when he interviewed a Russian member of IS. They accused him of justifying terrorism.
They took 40 copies of this magazine as evidence. But it doesn't mention Syria or terrorism. Apparently, their only reason was that my brochure, that dealt with completely different topics, had a black cover.
Skorobutov was a news editor at the state-owned broadcaster Rossiya. One day, he says his boss was drunk and beat him up. When Dmitry tried to take his boss to court, he was fired. Apparently, the station wanted to cover up the incident. Dmitry feels betrayed and has started to fight back against a system he once supported.
As an editor, I'd get these so-called stop lists of people and topics we weren't allowed to report on. For example, when people were protesting against Putin, we remained silent for nearly 2 weeks. It was only towards the end of the second week that we were allowed to mention the protests, but we had to dismiss them as harmless child's play. We weren't even allowed to mention the name of the political opponent Navalny, and we weren't allowed to report on the demonstrations even though they were happening in 102 cities.
On March 18th, Russia is set to go to the polls. Many expect the outcome to be rigged, but there will be little mention of that on state-controlled media, where the election will be portrayed as honest and fair. Opponents claim governmental agencies suppress any criticism of the system.
For example, Roskomnadzor is a supervisory agency that makes our lives difficult. They ban critical articles, and then they claim it's to protect children.
Even for younger generations, television is the most important source of information. 54% of the viewers between 18 and 24 prefer news from Rossiya 1. But insiders say the Russian state controls almost all broadcasting stations and uses them as an important propaganda tool. And their power expands beyond mere reporting.
At first, my lawyer didn't believe just how powerful my station was. She thought I was exaggerating. But when the court rejected our case for the 4th time, she started to realize something was very wrong. The way agencies treat us journalists, how they deny us access to courts, arrest us at protests, search our homes, it all goes to show how little regard the state has for us. In the past years, the situation has only worsened. It's so bad that everybody who decides to take up this job can expect to be murdered someday.
As different as Nikulin's and Skorobutov's experiences are, they both seem to show two sides of the same coin. The same principle: play along and keep your mouth shut or find a different job. As the saying goes in Russia, either you're with us or against us.